Sisters, I'm delighted to introduce you to our new congregational leader, Sister Laureen Dixon, and her counsellors who will support her in her leadership, Sister Adele Cottrell-Dormer, Sister Margaret Guy, Sister Teresita Marcello, and Sister Elizabeth Byrne. We are absolutely delighted and promise you our love, our loyalty, and our deep respect.
Thank you very much. This is Q&A.
So for those watching from afar, we've done a lot of talking, but lots and different things are happening. So, Laureen, would you like to share with us perhaps what's been significant for you in these past days?
Well, I think, first of all, Karen and sisters at home watching us, the liturgies have been absolutely wonderful. And the feeling that you have been able to join us in those liturgies has been so strong. And we know that you have continued to pray for us when you haven't been with us in the room by live streaming. So I'm really, really grateful for that. I suppose the next thing that's been really significant is my life has just been upended. And so whilst I feel very privileged, I spent Wednesday in a bit of a fog. I was incredibly overcome and very, very nervous the whole day. And it reminded me of the first time that I think, Liz, you went to UISG and you stood in front of me and she said, "I'm entrusting the congregation to you." And that overwhelmed me again on Wednesday because I could hear every sister saying, "We're entrusting the congregation to you." And it moved me really deeply. And for the sisters at home, I'd like you to know that as we were moving into the election mode, I went upstairs and I got my copy of the Deceased Sisters book and my copy of the directory. And I didn't realise I was doing this until I reflected, but I had them held close to my heart. And what I realised was that all the sisters who are in the Dead Book, and I pray every morning for those sisters whose anniversary occurs, were praying with us, and all the sisters in the directory were praying with us. And I was asking that you would hold me as we came into the election room. So that was a fairly significant moment for me. Is that enough on significant?
That probably holds it. In our conversations sporadically over the last week, we've all talked a lot about contemplative dialogue and what contemplative dialogue has meant for you as a congregation. And you were reflecting on that. I'd be interested to hear some of those reflections, Laureen.
Thank you, Karen. I suppose in the context of the journey that we've been on in this room for almost the past week, has amplified for me the journey that we were on before we came here, and the months and probably years now that we've been involved in contemplative dialogue together. And that has carried on here, and it's my great hope that we'll be able to continue that in the future with the whole congregation, because the whole congregation owns what we've done and achieved here. So I think we've been able to listen incredibly deeply to God and to one another. And I think we have achieved some beautiful work, and we look forward to sharing that with everyone. Am I off the hook now?
Well, I'm
No,
suspecting you've got 6 years, but but let's let it rest for now at that point in time. So, Adele, I'm just inviting the four of you, and beginning with you, Adele, to just perhaps you might like to share a hope or a dream that came to you as over this last week in particular.
I'm only going to answer that from the time I was elected. My hope for the next 6 years would be to always be open and to be true to myself and true to each of you, my fellow Pilgrim Sisters of Charity, the wider church and the world. I've got a lot to learn, I realise that. So my prayer is to continue to be open to the God of love who loves me. And as I sang on my first vows that I would leave the boats behind and step out into the deep, that is still my desire. And I realise that I will fall over, but I will get up, I will take a step forward, and I will continue on with your love and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. And Margaret's been significant in preparing our prayers, so it might be an interesting thing to hear a reflection, Margaret, from you about hope.
Hope. All my hope for this chapter is that I would not be a counsellor. That is how I arrived last Friday. And it was definitely no. But I would have to say, through all of these liturgies, through the absolute tangible sense of the Spirit here, which has continued on from our contemplative dialogue on the Zoom sessions, and a few encouraging words from other people, I really felt the Spirit change in me. So when it came to my name, and I thought, well, if I'm called, I will leave my name there. And anyway, so the biggest surprise of the Spirit for me is that I'm here as a counsellor. I hope that we do continue that contemplative dialogue, really listen and care for each other, as we have experienced here. We've all got gifts. We're all in this together. We need to support each other. It's not just the council leadership team. We need your gifts. I mean, I'm a heart person. I can be gentle, but I can also speak out. I'd like you to think of what your gift is. Gifts, I should say, that you're contributing to us, to all of us in this world, and it's really a change of eras.
And Tess, we invite you to express your hope.
Karen, before I can express my hope, I'd like to share with you my awareness. First of all, my sisters, both here and both in our lives streaming, I'm very, very aware of our presence in communion all throughout this time, right up to this very moment. It is truly a grace-filled time for all of us, for our sisters who are praying for us out there, our colleagues everywhere, and our companions. We all share this grace-filled time together. Laureen, Libby, Adele, Margaret, you and I have been called to God's service in a very, very particular way during this time. God's service is service to all, and in a particular way through leadership of our congregation. And I thank your presence, all of us, with one another. Now, my hopefulness. My heart is truly hopeful that having been called to God's service, we will all continue to be impelled by the love of Christ to listen to this God's service and carry it out in contemplative action. First of all, with one another, our church, and our wider earth, which is our common home, together. May our source of motivation and action always be our fourth vow, our service of the poor, and never forget our trust in divine providence always. Thank you.
Libby, let us hear from you.
Well, I don't think there's much left to say, so perhaps for the first time in my life, I will be a woman of few words. But perhaps a lot of stuff's been said about the wider church, about the marginalised. My hope is for hope itself, that we all, those of us, Laureen, Dill, Marg, Tess and myself, will be women of hope who can walk with women of hope to bring that hope to the world, to the church, to the earth, to all the places that hurt and are needing it, and that will evolve and grow bigger and better, that whole presence of communion. And I, like Marg, was part of the liturgy team, and those liturgies, when you are frantically trying to work out what you're going to do and talk about and pray about and thinking this isn't going to mean anything to anybody else, the way in which I believe all of us in this room and a lot of the people on the live stream as well have been touched, may that continue. May we meet each other at that deep gut level. Thanks.
Thank you to each of you. I guess it's always appropriate that you give the last word to the first person elected. So, Laureen, is there some final thing that you would like to say before we invite the sisters at home to go and have a gin and tonic?
And us?
And us.
I suppose I feel really challenged, and I feel challenged not only for what we as a congregation will do, but for what we as a congregation will do within the church and within the wider community. We have a reputation and a great heritage of being able to do that. And I think we've been given a fair bit of direction as to how we might engage in those places. I also think that there's upheaval. There's going to be a bit of upheaval for each of us. And as we step into a new role, and I really ask that everyone would be patient with us as we begin. It's a short turnaround before the 25th of March, and we are going to step into big shoes, and there will be a lot to do. And my hope is that we will be able to do that with your grace and your patience to allow us to learn what we need to learn so that we can be effective in our role.
Thank you. So a blessing on each of you from all of us. We look forward to Mass on Sunday, where we will celebrate this in its fullness. And we invite the sisters at home to find that gin and tonic or whatever it is at 5:15 on a Friday afternoon that one does, fish and chips. And we are inviting the sisters here present to also find a gin and tonic and whatever is present in the room. Thank you to the sisters out there who spent their time sharing this precious moment with our new congregational leader and council.
Well done, everybody.